I guess that I've been around so long, I'm getting the idea, because people often say it on the street to me. They say, I just love you. And I think that, and I love them back. And I think that so many of the characters that I've been able to play over the years have been my own personal goodwill ambassadors. So they think they love me, but they love these characters that I've done, and therefore they love me. And isn't that sweet?
This is Really Famous. I'm Cara Mayer Robinson, and I interview famous people. But I don't just interview them like your typical interview. I'm not really interested in those same old questions. Instead, I like to know who they really are and what they really think. Today, I'm talking to Annie Potts. Annie is an actress, of course. Right now, she is in the series Young Sheldon, which is the prequel of The Big Bang Theory, and it follows Sheldon when he was a child. It's in season 2 right now, and you can catch it on Thursdays at 8:30 on CBS. Annie plays Meemaw, Sheldon's grandmother, and she's just great. Now, you may also remember Annie from Designing Women. She played the very memorable Mary Jo Shively. Or the first thing that may come to your mind when you think of Annie Potts is Ghostbusters, or even Pretty in Pink. She was in both of those, as well as a whole bunch of other things like Grey's Anatomy, Chicago Fire, and The Fosters. And she is the voice of Bo Peep in Toy Story. And happy news, Toy Story 4 is coming out on June 21st. Annie and I recently got together in New York. A big thank you to the Ryu Plaza, New York, Times Square, where we recorded this episode. Speaking of New York, if you are in New York between now and March 17th, head over to the New York International Children's Film Festival. I have been going to this film festival for probably like 10 years or possibly more, and I look forward to it every year. They have a huge assortment of films for kids, and adults love them like just as much. They go on the entire month for like 4 weeks total, and they screen films from a huge sample of different countries, and many of them are super artistic, and they have these thoughtful messages and like all of this deep symbolism, and they're beautifully crafted. They're really like exactly the caliber of some of the best adult art films that I've seen. Last week I saw Short Films 2, which is a collection of international shorts, and it was a real treat. So I highly recommend it. To get tickets, click on the show notes or go to nyicff.org. And now here's Annie Potts and me at the Ryu. Oh, speaking of the Ryu, I filmed a bunch of short videos right before Annie arrived and right after she left. I'm releasing them on my YouTube channel here and there. So if you're not subscribed yet, head on over to youtube.com/reallyfamous. How are you doing in New York?
Oh, good. I love it. I've spent several winters here, so I'm good. It's been this cold in LA. We've had a really cold, wet. Thank God we've had rain.
I've seen a lot of pictures from LA lately where there is a ton of rain and like it's freezing. What's up?
Well, we're having an El Nino, whatever that means. But I mean, we've been in drought for many years, and so it's very welcome, and it's so green right now. It is so glorious. I can't remember when I've seen it this lush. It's Shangri-La. We've had a constant kind of pouring rain, Seattle style.
So you're busy nowadays.
I'm busy.
I mean, I guess you're always busy. Is that right?
I love when people say that. It's like, well, you're always busy, aren't you? I haven't felt that, but actually right now I really am busy.
Yeah, well,
and
okay,
I like
so
it.
You're on a network television series. Mm-hmm. So network meaning you're constantly doing an episode, right? You have what, 22 or something a season?
Yes, we do 22 a season.
And it's Young Sheldon, obviously, and you play Meemaw, which is awesome. So I've been watching it with my son, my 10-year-old.
Oh,
he was hooked the second he heard it in the background.
Yeah.
He was like, what is this show?
Who is this kid?
Right. But it's fun. It's a really fun show, and I feel like it's
I love it.
like for everyone.
It is. I mean, well, it's multi-generational too. They've done that, so there's the kids and the parents and the grandparents.
And so you are working on that. And then the other big news right now is Toy Story 4 is coming out.
Yeah.
Which I personally am thrilled about, because I always say when somebody asks, what's your favorite animated film? It's always Toy Story. Give me a break.
It's brilliant. It's so genius.
It's like my heart. It melts my heart.
Well, nobody does what Pixar has been able to do, I think. Just first of all, it's what we used to call cartoons that the whole family can sit down to and laugh and cry and be moved and be schooled in, empathy, sympathy. It's just, it's amazing what they do. I love working for them so much.
Yeah, and that's very cool that they actually have a fourth one coming out.
Yes, and I got to, usually you work just in a room by yourself, but this time I got to work quite a bit with Tom Hanks.
Ooh, that's exciting.
That is quite lovely.
Is he as nice as he appears to be?
Yes.
So what is he like at work?
He's the nicest person.
So is it just the two of you doing a scene?
Mm-hmm.
So Bo Peep and Woody are in a scene.
Mm-hmm.
So they bring you in at the same time. So you don't have to hear it in your head.
Right.
And you can actually react to quite an actor like Tom Hanks.
Yes.
All right. So I'm talking about it too much, but you're the one who has the experience. Tell me about it.
Well, it's wonderful. He's such a lovely human being and such a sensational actor. And he's so game and authentic and light. And, he and Rita both are the nicest people. Our sons went to school together, so I know them a little bit. And our sons are actually great good friends. And you can always tell people when you meet their kids, you can tell a lot about them. And their son is so fab.
Okay.
Truman.
Mm-hmm. So you have 3 sons, right?
I have 3.
And are they close in age to each other?
They're not. I have a big, my youngest is 23, and then 26, and 37.
Oh, okay. So 11 years is well, I have 8.5 years between between my first and my third. So I know how that goes, but that you have a little bit more.
Yes. I just kept having them.
So what was that like? For real though, what was that like having somebody 11 years older?
It's been great. And now that they're, proper grownups, they're really close. Honestly, their relationships are everything I'd hoped. They love each other. They support each other. They make each other laugh. The youngest and the oldest are both writers, and they always put their work past their brother first. The oldest one writes for screen and TV, and the youngest is a poet. So they always want the other to read their work first.
Being a poet, what is that like?
Well, for him, he's just graduated from college. He's about to hear where he'll get in his graduate work. But he's also been an environmental student, environmental science. He was a double major. And I think that he hopes to use his creative writing to shine a light on the natural world, like the great Mary Oliver, who just passed away last month.
And then your oldest is a writer. What does he write? Movies?
He just has a thing that a movie that he's doing for Netflix, which is going to be a series for them as well.
Oh, can you talk
it's
about it?
It's actually animated, although that's not, he writes live action stuff too. He's about to have a big success.
Oh, can we talk about what it is? Do you know the name or no? We can't reveal it?
It's a combination of those things, but he's due. He's 37. He's paid his dues and just got married. And anyway, you can tell the audience can't see my face, but you can when I talk about my sons. They're my everything.
Yeah, I mean, you have a bit. I'll just describe it. You have a big smile, and it looks like just a feel-good look over your whole face, like your eyes are smiling.
Well, they're old enough now where it's kind of the harvest time. Our middle son's a musician, and he is just fantastic, and the others are, doing their thing, writing, and they're full of passion for their work. And
so it's harvest time for their work, you're saying?
It's harvest time for me as their mother, because I see them.
Oh, after all of the hard work you put in the farming.
Yes,
they are. It's the season.
Yes.
The fruits of your labor.
The fruit is there on the tree and quite ready to eat.
How are the teen years?
I have to say they were pretty easy. My boys were really, were they perfect? No, but they were pretty easy. And honestly, from most people's stories, they were a walk in the park.
Yeah. It's all relative, right?
Yeah. Of course, they rebelled some. They have to, so they can leave home. Otherwise, you never get rid of them.
Right. Well, it is a process. It is a healthy process. At least I learned this, in my training, in my psychology training, that yes, it's a separation and individuation.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable.
It is.
But there's a purpose.
My youngest two, my little one decided to go to boarding school. So there's just enough difference in the youngest two's age so that they both ended up going away the same year, one to college and the other to boarding school. So all of a sudden I had my empty nest happened literally overnight. And I cried for a month.
Did you?
Oh, I missed them so much. I didn't think I was going to be able to bear it. And then it was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute, I don't have to get up and make eggs for people who, A, don't eat them and resent me for suggesting it. I could even sleep in. And of course, they were at a point in their own maturity when it was good for them to go away and be independent, and so it worked out for everybody.
Right. So it's just a change in perspective, and it's just a new normal. And so are you married or not married?
Am I married?
Yeah.
Yes,
you
I
are
am
married.
Yes, I've been married for a very long time.
Oh, how long?
Well, I think we will have been together 30 years in May. My husband he's a director and producer, and he is the executive producer on NCIS New Orleans.
Oh.
So he lives there. I'm sometimes there with him, but otherwise I'm in California because I'm there. We have a place here as well because I had thought that my career was going to be here in New York. So, but I just love having an apartment here so I can come whenever I want.
That is the best. So wait a minute. So you thought you were going to have a career here because of theater? So you bought the apartment, or is it that just kind of a coincidence? Just because you have a piece of your heart is in New York.
Well, we sold our house in LA first, and then my husband moved to New Orleans 5 years ago.
So he was in LA too, but then he got the job.
Yes, we were in LA together, and then he got the job there. I was like, maybe I'll come down. I don't know if I want to go back to the South again. Eventually, I joined him there. We bought a fab house, which I restored. And then as soon as I finished it, I got a job to come back to LA. So he's there. I'm in LA. We meet in New York quite a bit.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Right. And then you both get to kind of step away from your everyday life, and you're like on vacation almost. So there are probably some pros and cons, or some perks and some drawbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So far it's working.
And so is it nice to be able to go to the different places and not feel like you're kind of like always in Los Angeles?
Yeah, it's great.
And right. Are you an LA person, like somewhat?
Well, I've been there for a long time. It's like 3 different parts of my personality: LA, New Orleans, here. Because in LA I get to be my TV self, and in New Orleans I'm the Southern girl, and here I'm just a lover of theater. And
wait, okay, so who's your TV self?
That's both my husband. One of the reasons that our relationship works long distance is that we're both workaholics. So I've always liked TV work because I like to go to work and work for 14 hours a day. It's almost like being in a spiritual order. It's like your life is so specific about, work and maintain your health and rest and work. That's the heartbeat of it.
Right. It's very clear. You know your purpose. You know your daily path and
it's
your
like school
priorities.
It's like, this is it.
And just because you're doing the TV also, it being a network show, it's not like a couple of months on and then a whole chunk of time off.
It's 9 months on.
Right. Which is probably good for you.
It's perfect for me. It's a school year.
Right. And then at the end of the school year, so then you might go to New Orleans, or you might come here.
Yeah.
And then who's your New Orleans self?
Oh, she's the Southern girl that likes a small town. I'm not exactly an anonymous person as I was when I lived there as a child.
Right.
But I like it. It's, the traffic is not bad. The people are really sweet. There's fantastic music, fantastic food. I have a lot of friends there now. It's all good.
I think I read that you lived in Kentucky and Tennessee and Missouri. Is that right?
Well, I was born in Nashville.
Okay.
I never lived there, but that was the closest hospital. And I grew up in Kentucky as a kid on a farm. And then I went to school in Missouri. I got my degree there.
And so you said earlier that you weren't sure if you wanted to go back to the South again. So why? What was in your mind?
Well, I think it's a much more conservative part of the country. Although specifically with New Orleans, it's not super conservative there on a lot of levels. It is politically conservative mostly. But I've been living on the other coasts for long enough in the liberal pockets of the country. And, I grew up during Jim Crow. I'm 66. My father's people were from North and South Carolina, and we used to go there in the summer. And I remember we would stop at gas stations on our way there, and there were 3 bathrooms, one for women, one for men, and one for blacks. And that's not the word that was written on the outside of the door. And we would always get up in the middle of the night because we had an African American woman who lived with us, and she traveled with us in a maid's uniform, and we would have to get as many hours in as possible because there was no place to stay, because no motel or hotel would allow an African American person to stay there at the time. And as I got older, I became keenly aware of that. It is part of the South that I was never comfortable with, and that I mean, I think we saw last year with Charlottesville and everything, and a lot of other examples. Racism is still a real thing, and it registered on me. And, a lot of the work that I have done has been, I've always been drawn to material that was about Southern people, because invariably themes come up like that. The wonderful series that I did for Lifetime called Any Day Now, with the great Lorraine Toussaint and I playing friends, one black, one white, growing up in Birmingham, Alabama in the 60s. And we had little girls who played us, and we'd jump back and forth in time, and I was so happy to be a part of that conversation. And that series actually has been used in a lot of colleges for both Black studies and women's studies. And then even on Designing Women, of course, we were 4 women and a black man, and so we got to talk politics, culture. It's great when you can be funny.
Right. It's a platform, really, to bring these issues up, actually.
Both of those were bully pulpits.
Mm-hmm.
So returning to that, I was a little, it's like, I don't want to go down there, and I don't want to deal with people's prejudices like that, because it just hurts my heart. I can't bear it.
Right.
I can't bear it for so many reasons. I don't know how anybody could. But so I was reluctant to do it. But New Orleans is, as some people call it, the northerlymost Caribbean city. It is. It's a big mix there.
So you don't run into it as much. It's not.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Oh, really? So how do you run into it? What do you see there? Is it just like comments from people, like passing things they say?
Well, they're very, the neighborhoods and the, what happened after Katrina. It's coming back, but we have a long way in this country to go before we conquer that. Anyway, and in another way, just I know Young Sheldon doesn't seem to be on the face of it to be a political show, but I think that it's such a tonic for the times, because what's happening politically,
mm-hmm.
And in this country,
So it's a tonic because it just feels good.
Yes, I think that it is.
I agree. It does feel good.
It really is. I was on a show earlier, and I said it's just like a spoonful of sunshine in this dark, changing time. I guess what we're going through now has to happen so we can get on the other side of it. But until the tablecloth is completely ripped off the table, some plates are going to crash to the floor. But some people are going to have to stand up and rip it off.
And it's not going to be it isn't comfortable.
It isn't comfortable
now. And it's
now.
a mess.
But I'm beginning to see now that it could get very exciting. I just hope that, that we have enough time. The UN has just said, in terms of global warming, we have 12 years. And that's being optimistic to turn things around. And
that's close.
12 years. That's
very
nothing.
Close.
That's nothing.
That's nothing. It's crazy, right? So you've seen different places. You've seen different eras. I don't know. Any insight over just all the different things that have gone? Oh, like you're talking about. You saw the South when you were a child. So different. You've lived in LA, you love New York, you have a place here. So you're seeing all of this. I don't know. Do you feel like you have a big perspective on everything?
I feel like I've seen a lot of change. When I first moved to LA in the 70s, I mean, we had like acid rain. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, the smog was so bad that there was no visibility. You would go out and your eyes would burn and stream. Now, we changed that. You know, we had regulations and stuff, and that all turned around, and we're green and clean out there now. So, I mean, I was just reminded of that the other day. Because I was having a day when I thought, oh, things will never change. It's like, but wait a minute, that was bad then, and that got changed.
Right,
it happened.
Right. So you can kind of see the bigger time frame.
Yes, because I've the woman who helped raise me, whose name was Cassie Boyd, who we called her Big Mama. Anyway, Big Mama always used to say, she would never say because of how old she was. She'd say, because on account of my birthdays. So on account of my birthdays, I've seen a lot.
I like that a lot. On account of my birthdays.
On account of that.
So flipping back to Designing Women for a moment. So I heard that there's going to be a remake. Is that true?
Well, a pilot has been planned. Linda Bloodworth Thomason, the great creator of that, wrote a reboot of it featuring some of us from the original and, you know, having a like second generation kind of thing. And I believe that that's been turned down for the network that had suggested that they might want to do it. So I believe she's free to take it elsewhere. I hope that somebody does it, because I think those voices we really could use those voices. And I mean, we forget we were all, you know, like four little Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes, you know?
Yeah.
And that was, and of course there were those who represented the conservative side of things too. So that's right now it's in flux, but there's so many different places now to get things made. Oh my
right?
God, there's so many. Yeah.
So it seems like if she wants to shop it around, I feel like she can sell it.
I think she really does, because she's burning to have a bully pulpit again. And so I think it'll happen.
Now, did I read somewhere, was it her who kind of spoke up about Les Moonves? Like, yes. Right? He kind of ruined her career too, right? Am I kind of over-exaggerating, or am I getting it wrong?
I don't think that is an exaggeration. I think that he did things to undermine her. And apparently, according to quite a few people, did some other things. I mean, enough women have come forward that seems to be true. And while I never wish anyone ill, I don't like to see that kind of behavior condoned and supported. So I'm not sorry that he's not there anymore.
And this may be just the right time for her to get things done without somebody slamming the door in her face, or no?
Yeah, perhaps.
Perhaps, right? Perhaps. What do you mean, perhaps?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't work on that side of things. You know, going out and selling things. I dabbled in it a little bit, and I found it to be so hard and so disheartening that I was like, no, I just want somebody to write a script for me and, you know, let me know when to show up on the set.
So you've seen some ups and downs in being an actor too, right? Like,
oh, sure.
You've seen the whole industry change basically and weathered it, staying employed all along. It seems like maybe some gaps here and there.
Yeah. I mean, when I started in the 70s, there was maybe like 2 women executives. Really? I mean, maybe that's being generous. There was Barbara Corday I can't, literally, I can't, and that Sherry Lansing, but, you know, there was always negative. Well, you know, it's like, if there was a woman, there was always a negative spin that was put on it. Like, well, you know, it's a woman.
You mean in the executive position? You mean, got it.
Yeah.
So it was hard for that woman.
Yeah.
And so, but also just in terms of the type of work, like television has changed so much. I mean, I guess you're on it's considered a sitcom now, right? Young Sheldon, is that a sitcom? Do they call it that, or is that not a word anymore?
Well, it means a comedy based on the situation.
Right.
I always think of that more when it's a live audience, multi-camera, which is different. It's like filming a live play. It's a little broader. Ours is more, I mean, we are a film show, so we just have one camera, and it feels different. The comedy's different. We don't have live audience laughter or canned laughter either, so it's a different tone altogether.
Totally different. Now, The Big Bang Theory, though, has that, right?
Right.
So that is different.
It is, and I think Chuck Lorre, that is, and his partner Steve Millar on a completely different track now. And I think they like it. I don't know if you've seen Chuck's new show, The Kaminsky Method.
Oh, I saw a couple of them.
Oh, it's brilliant.
With Alan Arkin and Michael Douglas.
Alan Arkin.
Alan Arkin is he's one of the greatest.
It's like, you know, if you can hang in there long enough, your work just gets better and better, I think, you know?
Yeah. So you hang in there long enough. It must be tough, though.
I think it is, but I mean, I've been watching Alan Arkin for a long time, and to watch him work now, he hardly has to do anything. It looks so effortless. He just breathes it. You know what I mean? And the timing is all there. I mean, after a while, you know, the body of your work and your face do the work for you, because it's, you know, all of your life is carved into it. And
so there's layers, interesting layers.
Yeah, you just don't have to do that much.
So what do you do when you're not working?
Well, I'm always working.
What do you do when you come home from work? Let's say you're on set of Sheldon, you come home, so I'm guessing it's like Monday through Friday, right?
You know, I'm in a you know, for the first time in my life, well, I guess it's been a few years actually. I'm in my sort of nun period when I just work and I go home, and I'm very careful about what I eat. I usually make dinner, and often I'll lately, and too much, I watch the news, because I keep waiting, hoping that there'll be a sign of spring.
Have you seen any yet? Any crocuses?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so you watch the news.
So, yeah.
And you make it, so you cook? You like to cook?
Yeah, I love to cook.
What do you make?
Oh, you know, simple things. I'm just kind of like proteins and vegetables.
So you watch what you eat. Is part of it because you know you're on camera all the time?
Well, yes. I mean, I have to be thoughtful about that, but mostly because I feel better when I eat good, clean things. I don't...
And it's easy. I feel like it's easier when you're in LA too. It just seems like it's at your fingertips everywhere, where I don't think it's like that everywhere else in the country.
Well, it seems to me that the country kind of lives on Dunkin' Donuts and, you know, coffee, soda, and bread and donuts. And I think it's killing us. I don't, God, I'd kill you for a biscuit. Oh my God.
Biscuits and gravy, right?
No,
not that?
No, not biscuit. No,
just
I'm not
a biscuit.
Gravy bread. Just biscuits, butter, and jam. Or anyway, I love them, but we're so reliant on them, and I think, you know, what, 60% of America's obese?
Is that the number? I am sure it's something like that.
It's a lot, and I mean, you just have to stop it.
Right.
Even here in New York, you walk down the street, there's like everything that's in the window at the food stores is all bread, and it all looks great.
Right. But this is what I'm saying. I think there's less of that in Los Angeles. Like, I feel like there's so many markets and restaurants that make it easy on the go to get something that tastes good, but also is healthy.
Yeah, they want you to have a bottle of mixed juices and
exactly,
and a nice salad.
So do you watch TV at all when you're besides the news?
I do.
What do you like?
Killing Eve.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, it's coming back soon.
Is it?
Yeah, for season 2.
I'm so glad. I was just at an awards thing a couple of weeks ago, and the young woman who plays the assassin, and she's a young British actress, was right ahead of me. And at first I didn't recognize her, and then I went all stalker fan on her. I just yelped because I had just finished binging her, and I was so admiring of her awesome talent. I just vomited praise all over her, and she was like, "Oh my God, it's the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me." But she's great. I'm going to watch that series again.
Yeah, she's great. I feel like from the first episode, I was really like, wow, she's something special.
She's 24 years old. I think she's going to be a huge
I didn't realize she was that young.
She's 24.
She does have a long way to go then. A lot of future ahead of her.
She's got nothing but potential.
So that, and what else?
I love, of course, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I just think, it's beautiful to watch, and it's beautifully acted. Tony Shalhoub and Maren Hinkle are just heaven in it. Oh gosh, what else am I watching? I watch a lot of documentaries. I like that. What else have I been watching? Well, I've been trying to catch up on as many movies as possible because I'm in the Academy, and I have to vote in a minute for all of that.
I just saw Roma a couple of nights ago.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Really
isn't
beautiful.
It? Beautiful.
It's a beautiful film. The cinematography?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
He shot that in his real home.
Oh, I didn't know that was his home. I feel like I may have read that. It slipped past me or something. But
yeah.
And I also, somebody else was supposed to be the cinematographer, right? And then he stepped in because I think there was some kind of like a schedule problem or something. But it was in his home, and it was just such a slice of like real life. So different.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
And that young woman who had never acted before doing...
Oh, crazy.
Wow. It's like, oh gosh, what is that other show where the acting is so great and it's not like acting? I forgot. Oh, you know what? Another favorite of mine in the last year and a half is Get Shorty, which is and I don't know what channel it's on. I just caught it. It's Ray Romano and Chris O'Dowd and this fantastic Latina actress who is so sensational, but the whole thing is just great.
Oh, I have to find that. I never heard of that. I mean, I know Get Shorty the movie.
Yes. Well,
is it based on that?
Yes. It's a new telling of it.
Okay.
But Ray Romano is genius in it.
I really like Ray Romano.
And it is dark and funny, and it's...
I will tune into that one. That's a good recommendation. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you like TV, you're watching all your movies. Mm-hmm. What's it like to be in the Academy?
Well, they do send me all those movies, which is great. I'm not, I'm so busy thinking about other politics. I have not gotten into the politics of that organization, but I've been a member for many, many years. I also, I take care of myself. I swim a lot, and I have a Pilates machine in my living room, so I don't have any excuse. Even if I'm watching the news, I'll get on the Pilates machine.
Oh, that's good. So it's right in the middle, smack in the middle.
I put it right in the middle of the living
that's
room.
a pretty bold move.
Well, I live by myself.
Right.
You know, it doesn't make any difference.
But I feel like you would have people over a lot.
I do.
But they'll just step right over it, or they'll sit on it, or they'll do a little while they're talking to you.
Well, there's plenty of room. It's enough out of the way.
And who do you hang out with? Are they mostly people you've known for years, or
both? Old friends and new friends, and some of my. There's a sort of a swirling company of friends of my kids who hang and often live with us in one of the houses for lengthy periods of time.
Oh, that's interesting.
I almost always, my oldest son's roommate from college came to stay with us, and he stayed for 12 years.
What? That's a long time.
That's a true story. That's the longest a guest has ever stayed. He actually became nanny for the little boys and was genius at it. And then the little boys went away to school, and he stayed on to, take care of us.
That's great.
But then we got rid of our big house, and he's gone on to... he graduated from Brown University with a degree in mathematical economics.
Wow.
So he was meant for something else than taking the dogs to the vet.
How interesting. So 3 boys and a husband, all testosterone.
Yeah.
What is that like?
It's a lot of testosterone. It's a lot of...
I guess you have nothing to compare it to, right?
Well, I grew up, we were all girls, so it's...
So you do?
Yes, I've had... Yes, but that was...
A long time
ago. But I remember how my dad felt in that mix. He talked about it a lot. It's like, what do you think it's like? We're living in a house with all women. I was like, well, we're all like your servants, so I guess that's pretty good. So...
They're not your servants, I take it.
No, but they're pretty helpful now. I can't say that was always true, but they can be more or less helpful these days. They all cook. I taught them all to cook, and they had a natural inclination to cook anyway. My husband doesn't cook anything. He makes coffee. That's it. So they all cook.
Well, that's a good thing.
It is.
But do you ever wonder what it would be like to have another woman in the house? It's not like you're all living together,
well,
but...
I often... I have what I loosely call my artist in residence program, which is, people who are either on this coast or the other coast and need a place to stay. They stay, and sometimes it's women and sometimes it's guys who are working here or there and need a place to stay that's not a hotel because they get old so quickly.
Yeah. And then the other times it's just you anyway. So it's actually 100% women
I think
when you think about it.
Anybody who knows me will tell you that I'm seldom alone.
Okay. Let's do this. I'm going to ask you just the last couple of questions. We'll do the little video because I know you're on a schedule. So I love to ask people what image they think other people have of them. So what is the image do you think that people have of you?
I have no idea, and it would never occur to me that people had an image of me.
Really? Because you're famous.
I forget that.
You do? Oh, that's interesting.
I don't think a lot of famous people spend any time much thinking about that. If they do, I think they're wasting their time. But I grew up in a small town, and everybody knew who everybody else was. So it's a different version of fame. Everybody knew who I was, and I when I was little, I thought it was because they knew my parents. Oh, do you know my daddy? You know my mommy. So it never occurred to me that people didn't know me and that was a warm feeling, you know, that they were looking out for me. So when people come up to me and say, "Oh, I don't mean to bother you, but I recognize you," it's like, "Oh, that doesn't bother me. Do you know my dad?"
That's great.
I'm happy to say hello.
That's great. So who are you really? Who is the real you?
Oh, gosh. You'd have to ask my friends. They probably have a better idea than I do. You know, when I was very young, I was in a terrible car accident and I almost lost my life. And that was so instructive to me because I had a lovely upbringing with loving parents, and we had resources, and I lived in a beautiful place on a farm. It was a magical kingdom for a child. And, you know, I went to college. I kind of, you know, cleaned up. I got every role I could have hoped for in the theater school there. And then this thing happened to me, and it turned my life upside down. And I had such a golden childhood and a golden college kind of time. And then all of a sudden, I almost lost my life. And it was such a gift to me because I got how fragile it all was, and I got how that if you don't live in the deepest kind of gratitude all the time, you're really missing out because it is so fragile. All of it can turn in a second. So, it helped me know that the most important thing is to be kind and compassionate and live with joy. And so it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. It was the greatest thing that happened to me.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Annie.
You're so welcome.
That was Annie Potts. Head over to my YouTube channel to see Annie do my quick video Q&A, and also to see those funny little video clips that I filmed the day when she and I were at the Revue. You'll find it at youtube.com/reallyfamous. I'm Kara Mayer Robinson. I'm headed to LA next week to record even more interviews with spectacular people, so stay tuned to hear and see more. Thanks for listening to Really Famous. Dogs or cats?
It used to be cats, now it's dogs.
Sweet or salty?
Salty.
Neat or messy?
Neat.
If you invited me over for dinner, what would you prepare?
I might get some takeout because then I wouldn't have to. If I didn't do takeout, I would do something that wouldn't take any preparation so I could just visit with you.
If you could choose two celebrities to be your parents, who would you pick?
I had the perfect parents for me.
What's your most...
It's tough to have celebrity parents. I don't know.
That's right. You might take a pass on that. What's your most dreaded household chore?
I hate to unload the dishwasher. I just hate it.
What are you currently obsessed with?
What am I obsessed with? Golden milk, turmeric with almond milk and honey at night. I find that it's really helping my arthritis, and it's just so delicious.
What's your personal pet peeve?
My personal pet peeve. Dishonesty.
What cracks you up?
My kids.
If you weren't an actor, what would you be?
An architect.
What is your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure. What is my guilty pleasure? I occasionally ice cream at night. I felt so guilty about it I could hardly say it.
And your hidden talent?
My hidden talent. I'm an artist.
What's the weirdest thing about doing this podcast interview?
The weirdest thing. My whole life is so weird. This is like the least weird thing.
What did you like about doing it?
What did I like about doing it? It's personal. I'm a personal person, so I like to engage in personal conversation. Real conversation, not just sound bites.
Thank you, Annie.
Thank you.